So y'all might as well start looking that up and get on damn play. Get on damn play. Do it, y'all. Say what? Y'all go on the body. Body pooper. Don't do it tonight. Y'all going on the Pam too. So good to see that baby. Y'all saw Big Brother Kevin. Oh. I don't block. Talking to Square Head. Y'all going on the Levo also. Everyone we're going to Levo, right? Oh, oh. All the ladies in the house, let me hear you say, oh. All the ladies in the house, let me hear you say, oh. All the fellas in the house, let me hear you say, Joe. All the fellas in the house, let me hear you say, Joe.
Where are you originally from, Kato?
Okay, I'm originally from DC. I was born in DC General Hospital. And my family, we were living in Northeast DC on 61st Street, which is not far from when you're talking 61st Street over there by the Watch Playground, um, around near 58th. Went to church, Dick Street. Went to church on Dick Street, Beulah Baptist Church, and all that. And so that's where I'm originally from. We lived there for a few years, and then we actually moved maybe a mile, not even a mile down the road. And since I was already near the district line, we was already on the C Pleasant district line. So we just moved from 61st Street down, George Palmer Highway to Glen Willow Apartments. You know what I'm saying? Which was C Pleasant. Um, so ended up, so I was going back and forth, living back and forth and stuff, and family back and forth. But it was right there, straddling that line, that C Pleasant, Eastern Avenue line. You know what I'm saying? So
Kato,
yeah.
how old were you, Kato?
When we moved to Maryland, I was 3. I was 3 when we moved to C Pleasant. Um, yeah, I was 3 and my brother Chuck was just basically just born, had just been born. So when I when I first fell in love with music, probably as far back as I can remember. In all honesty, um, I'm thinking about, like, when I say far back as I can remember, probably like around 5, 6 years old, when I was just, probably when I first got my toy guitar for Christmas one year. I was like maybe 6, 7 years old. But even in C Pleasant, there were always bands in the area. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, right when we lived up there on Maryland Park, there used to be bands that played in the field, and these were bands in the area. Big bands, like, one band was called Stratocasters, another band was called Fate's Destiny. All these bands were in the area, and there was always kids in the area. Even when I was in the junior high school, who was, we was trying to always form bands. So I got the love for it just by my peers in the areas. You know what I'm saying? People like who still play now. People like I said, the Stratocasters at the time. People like Dwayne Lee, who's like who's like was 2 years. So when I was in 7th grade, Dwayne was in 9th grade, and he was playing with his older brother and his friends, the Stratocasters, and like I said, he had Tony T over in Highland Gardens, and that's where Fate's Destiny resided. You know, people like Too Tall Steve and all them, they so I kind of we grew up in that environment, you know what I'm saying? So I was always, if anybody say they remember me, they always say, yeah, man, he the one. Every time I saw him, he walking up the road, George Palmer Highway, with a guitar in his hand. Because when I was going up there practicing, and like I said, it was all kinds of bands, Black Love, all that, and this is pre-Go Go, this is 70s. I'm 13, 12, 13, 14 years old, so my love for the music, and we was always going to see bands, you know what I'm saying, at the Capitol Center, and even at the rec center, the local bands, like I said, like Fest Destiny. But we would go to the Crown Car Wash and dry off cars to make money to go to the shows at the Capitol Center. You know what I'm saying? So we would be all day on a Saturday. Can I dry your car? Can I dry your car off? Right up there off of Sheriff Road, Crown Gas Station. I don't know what it's called now. And we would make money, go see the bands like Parliament, Grand Central Station, Confunction, Barcades, Heat Wave. We was, so was always into it heavy. Like you could go in any neighborhood. I don't care where, if you went, up in Gregory Strait on Gregg Street, you had Dirk Dean and them had a band called Aztec. One time we traveled, we walking down the road and we go to Bellhaven, and you can hear bands playing because they would be outside practicing over in Bellhaven. You see a band and they playing some Grand Central Station stuff. So I fell in love with it, and that's right around the same time that I first seen Red Essence and Trouble Funk. Trouble, just like I said, down the road, down Palmer Park was the Club LeBaron. Now, and we would go see. I mean, the first time I seen Trouble Funk was at the Club LeBaron. I was 14 years old. I don't know how I got in. I was with my older brother. All I remember is I had a tape recorder recording the show and seeing EU and Red Essence, and Red Essence used to play out like out PG College and stuff. So by the time I'm hitting high school age, 14, and I'm trying to, and we did try several bands, called ourselves Baby Strat, because we was like trying to be like the Stratocast. Then we called ourselves Central Jam, whatever. So by the time I'm 14, 15 years old, and my girlfriend over Southeast, she tell me about Duke Ellington. I'm like, yeah, I want to learn how to read and all that kind of stuff. And also, I got to mention that I was heavily inspired by my cousin, who's just, about 6 months older than me, named Byron B.J. Jackson. People know Byron from Red Essence and all. He passed away a couple of years ago. But he was a heavy influence on me, as far as playing instruments as a kid and stuff. But anyway, so I go to Duke Ellington to audition, and I realized that as I'm sitting there, everybody going in the room, somebody tells me, you got to already know how to read music. I'm like, for real? I thought they teach you. I said, nah, you got to know. I'm like, man. So I grabbed my guitar and I started leaving. But I'm looking around at all these kids. I'm like, man, I want to be in this environment. So what I did was down the hall, they was having auditions for the theater department. So I'm like, well, I ain't got to know how to read music to do theater. All I got to do is act. So I went down there to audition. And the guy there, Donald Lease, he was, it's kind of funny. I don't know if anybody's seen the Chappelle episode on Netflix when he talked about his years at Duke Ellington. And it was the exact same way. Matter of fact, at the end of it, they show a clip of a teacher. He talks about Donald Lease. Well, this is the same teacher. Donald Lease told me, he was like, well, go home, learn a monologue and all that, come back. I came back the next day, and I got into Duke. A whole new world. So now, every morning, school morning, I'm still living in C Pleasant for a minute. So, I'm walking up George Palmer Highway to the district line, catching the X2 bus, going, past Spingarn, past whatever schools out there, what's the, McKinley Tech and all that kind of stuff, going downtown, changing buses, because Duke Ellington was in Georgetown.
So this is my routine every single morning, catching a whole bunch of buses from Seaplant to Georgetown, and getting home every evening like about maybe 7 to 8 o'clock, because school, you just had that much. In Duke Ellington, you had your academic class in the morning and your arts classes in the evening. And I went to school with it, so this is also when I started discovering a lot of cats that were playing with different bands at the time, go-go bands. We were all like in the same, like Donnell Floyd. At the time, Donnell Floyd was playing with a band called Chance and Harold Little. You might know Harold Little and Lil Mike, who played the trumpet with Petworth, and Hard Rock, who played with Peacemakers. All these Olin Leif played with Ovation, and then he played with Air Raid. So all these cats I'm going to school with, you know what I'm saying? That's really even getting my connection and networking into this go-go thing. And then right around that time I started working, like I say, 1980, and we working in the summertime, we working on what is called the Showmobile, under the Marion Barry Summer Youth Program. You know what I'm saying? I'm using my DC address. I'm working under the Marion Barry Summer Youth Program all summer. All we doing is performing in the parks. Rock Creek Park, Rock Creek Park over there by Carter Burn, um, 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 wherever you name it, River Terrace. We just all over the city, you know what I'm saying? And we would have a map, and my schedule was always on the same schedule with Mass Extinction. So I was, working a lot with Mass Extinction, Gerald and all them. All of us were young, 15, 16, 17-year olds. And, I started just getting into it that way. I was still doing the acting thing, and then playing my guitar on the side is doing the music thing. But at that time, I was taking acting more serious because that's what was I was at Duke Ellington for. And then eventually I left Duke Ellington, started going back to Bowie High School. And the funny thing is, the people in the theater department at Bowie High School found out I came from Duke Ellington and treated me like royalty. I mean, it was like, we got this guy from Duke Ellington, because Duke Ellington had that powerful name. And I've done things. I wrote a plot right around that time, like around 82, 83, 82, 83. I wrote a play. It was called Buddies, and I entered in a competition called the Young Playwrights in New York. And out of 1,100 people who wrote their plays, submitted, they picked the top 5, and mine was one of the top 5. So at the age of 15 and 16 years old, I'm flying back and forth to New York. It was called the Eastern Shuttle. It was only like an hour ride, but I'm flying back and forth to New York, working on my play with, at the time, unknown actors, people like Denzel Washington and all that. They were unknown. So if I was like 16, Denzel was like 26. It was right a couple of years right before a Soldier Story movie came out, and he blew up. But so I was doing, and even the play I wrote was about DC in the go-go scene, called Buddies. It's almost like, if you look at Boys in the Hood, it's like, damn, my play was, and this is pre-Boys in the Hood, but it's that kind of story, about a couple of friends in DC. They used to go to go-go's and stuff. And I started getting into it. And once again, I'm still, and also around this time, I'm in Bowie High School. Me and some friends who go to Bowie, so a couple of cats from Washington Heights and Village Green, and a couple of cats from Sea Pleasant, people like Dwayne Bullock and Zach and Aaron Bow and all us. We form a band, and we form a go-go band, you know what I'm saying? Then we in high school. We formed a go-go band. This is the same time I'm writing the play and stuff. And there was a other band up from Washington Heights. Dave Powell and them started a band. So we merged and formed a band called Pure Elegance. And right around that time, Pure Elegance, and I think before Dave, it was Dave Powell and Don Hall and all those cats, Charlie Weems and all that. And we kind of merged to the Pure Elegance thing. And then I left and went in the Army for like 2 years. And Pure Elegance was building the name. I came back and immediately started back playing. When I came back, I was in Germany. When I came from Germany and I started working back out with Pure Elegance, a couple of things happened. Next, you know, I get a call right around 1988. I get a call from Lil Benny. I go audition to play with Lil Benny and the Masters. All I become their guitar player after Bula Roper leaves. I think Benny had 3 guitar players. I think Boogie Doo from Air Raid, Bula Roper, and me. I know I came after Bula. I don't think it was anybody after me because I started around 88 all the way to 92, and then we merged into a band called Proper Utensils. So in 90, right at the end of 92, 93, 94, I started playing with Proper Utensils for a couple of years, and then got married and all that, had kids and all that, and that's when I started the whole T-Mar Go-Go thing in 96. So that's kind of my story in a
Okay.
nutshell on this.
So I got love of music. So I wanted to say, how did you decide which instrument would be the one for you? How did you decide?
It's kind of funny. That was during, I guess, the elementary years. Then what we used to do in elementary school, we used to go. I don't know if you remember. There was a store in Landover Mall called Briggs Music, right? And matter of fact, what you call work used to work in it. Benny Yancey from EU, Scooter, sax player, used to work in Briggs Music. But we, we as kids we would go up to Briggs Music, and it was like a wish thing. We didn't have money to afford, so we would say, "Well, I got this instrument. I got this instrument." And I think it first started off, and my buddy Tony, I got to bring up Tony Sizemore because we kind of played that music together. And in the beginning, what happened was, I think he was supposed to be the guitar player and I was supposed to be the bass player. But we had acoustic guitars. But by the time we got a real electric guitars, he got his first, and his father bought him a bass guitar. So since he had a bass guitar, then I asked my father to buy me the electric lead guitar, and that kind of how that happened. And I'm glad I picked the lead because I got little short fingers or whatever. It'd been probably a little more difficult. Plus, it was more people playing around me, playing the lead guitar. So that's why. So by the time 12 years old, I got my lead guitar, and it's just stayed with that all through the years.
Got you. Okay. Okay. So you see you already done. I was gonna say take us on a ride from your first go-go band, and then your road with the rest of the bands you played for, right? Now,
Hmm.
was Proper Utensils the last band, or was it more bands after Proper Utensils?
No, Proper Utensils was actually the last band I physically played with. Because what happened, even that, and it's kind of funny, when I left Proper Utensils, it was basically, I wasn't cutting or anything. Um, and I wasn't playing guitar with, let me tell you, I wasn't playing guitar with Proper Utensils. Jock Johnson was playing guitar with him. Michelle Indigeo, cello's brother. People may know Jock, he was playing with Vibe. I'm not sure who he playing with now. But anyway, excuse me. But anyway, but funk, because I played guitar and rap with Lil Benny. I did all the rap songs. Funk said, "We keeping you on because you do the rap stuff." So I used to always rap stuff like Slam and whatever songs they would have me do with Proper Utensils. But I was with them about 2 years, and then like I said, I got married and all that. I wrote Funk a resignation letter. It's funny because I was talking to him one time, and he said, "I still got that letter you wrote, that resignation letter." I'm like, "For real?" He said, "Yeah, I keep stuff like that." I was like, "Wow," because it was in the resignation letter. I was just telling him how much I loved working with him, and how much, even over the years growing up, how I was inspired by him. Everything that he's done, from WPFW to when he used to work at the record store and all that. And so, but that was that was the last band I played with. That wasn't the last band I worked with. I still was working musically, directing like bands like Fatal Attraction. You kind of hear that music. Me, Preston and Mark. I was like the musical director. So guiding them to, because they were a younger band and we were trying to form them to. Now it's funny because those same guys from that was in Fatal Attraction is a younger band and they was making good noise, but now you got them like Brandon Fifth, who now plays with Vibe, and Nate. I think Nate still was playing with Familiar Faces, I know. But what I'm saying is that we were musically nurturing those. So even though I wasn't actively playing in bands, I was still working out musically with younger bands that was coming up during that early 2000 period.
Copy that.
And it's only so recently I just decided, man, I'm getting ready to go back and work on my own music again. Some of the stuff I wrote years
Describe
ago.
for us through your eyes, from your perspective, what was the golden era of go-go, Kato?
There's no question the golden era of go-go was that era between, in the 80s. So I'm going to say 1980 till 1989. You know what I'm saying? Was without a doubt, because that's when everything is being done now, with the exception of bounce. But everything else is being done now is still emulating, believe it or not, even though bands may play cover, it's still emulating what was happening during that golden era. That golden era is when bands started playing, with the congas, the two big ones and the two little ones. You know what I'm saying? It hasn't changed since then. You know what I'm saying? That's still, when you look at the conga setup, and it's like that, you like, okay, they know about that go-go thing because they're setting it up with two big congas and two small goomba, junior congas, or whatever you want to call them. Those were the eras where creativity was made. I mean, cats like Air Raid and Doc and them who used to see all the time in the C Platinum area, because Doc used to be down Booker T all the time with the Mayhews. And they was just creating, even if they was vamping other top 40 songs, they were creating it in their own style.
Vamping.
Vamping on a song, if you notice I don't know if anybody see, sometimes I just to stay in my zone, I put up clips of me just playing the guitar, and I always say, I'm vamping this, I'm vamping that. Vamping is messing with a song. In other words, and in a way, go-go was kind of always fun when it's played improvised. Let's say we take a song, whatever song it may be, whether it can be the Do Wah Diddy song or whatever. And we said we're going to play this, but we're going to play it how we want to play it. So we might play just 3 notes in it. I remember I studied vamping from Rare Essence. Rare Essence was like the masters at vamping songs. They can take you into a song and just mess with it. One time, I remember watching Rare Essence at Metro Club, and they was just hitting 3 notes. They was in the pocket, and it was going bum bum bum, and funk talking, right? Bum, and they just hitting 3 notes for the longest time, because funk will vamp a song. Funk will take a song and make that joint last for 20 minutes. So he'll go bum bum bum, and the band just hitting those 3 notes, bum bum bum, and then he'll take them to the bridge, and they like dun da 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 dun dun da 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 da, and now bum bum bum, and that's all he takes them through. And they vamping, he talking. They just hitting little parts of the song until he tells them take it through the whole time. I'm not even knowing what they're playing. They just hitting these 3 notes and funk just talking to the crowd. Then finally he takes them. He said, I go all the way into it, and they start playing bum 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 bum, which is the LL Cool J, I'm Bad. You see what I'm saying? And you realize after a while when they go, wait a minute. This whole time they was playing this song, and you didn't realize because they was vamping the song. Just like when they used to play like, I'm just trying to think of one right quick. When they used to play the Hold On to Your Love, ooh, or even better, when they used to play the NWA, the world's biggest dick joint, right? And they used to just go, and they used to do it with the sample, like, what do you want to do with it? What do you want me to do with it? They just vamping on it. They're not really playing it yet. What do you want me to do with it? What do you want me to do? That kind of stuff, where people can enjoy parts of the song, but you're not giving them the whole. Nowadays, bands don't vamp. Nowadays, they just play a song straight exactly like the record. And then they go into the next song and play exactly like the record. They don't vamp on the bull job, you know. Some bands don't. I think funk still vamps because that's a style. It's a DJ thing. If you was a DJ and you had 2 records of the same song, what do DJs do? They don't play the whole song. They vamp that joint. They just hit different parts, the breakdown parts of the song. That's all vamping is. It's just partially playing the song, just tapping on it. You just vamping on it right quick. I'm going to just hit this. And if I feel like it, I'm going to go into it. If it ain't hitting, if the crowd ain't feeling it, we're going to go all the way out of it. We're not going to play.
Okay. Now, the other thing I want to ask you was take us through every position of a band, but put your favorite musicians in each spot, sort of like the Kato Dream Team.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to start with the drums. You know, even people who aren't here no more, I'm gonna put Foots on my drums. Foots, Quentin Foots Davidson. And the main reason is because Foots was, I don't need a drummer to show off. When you in the pocket, I don't want you to do nothing but lock that pocket. I don't, you know what I'm saying? If I call for a solo, then we go solo. If not, keep that job locked because it's on you. You the most important thing. And the people are dancing on the floor because you got them locked in the pocket. And timing is everything. Foots was like a clock. Even if he did a roll, they were so quiet. They was like, you ain't got to keep breaking it down, man. Keep that joint right there, boom, because music builds on people, and if you know, it's almost like making love. Music builds on people, and if you keep it right there, like you tell that girl, keep that joint right there. It is. Keep it there. Don't move around. There it is. Daggone it. That's how I want my drum and Foots. Not saying he's the greatest for me. He for my style. You know what I'm saying? I love Juju. I played with Juju and all that. Done a lot of work with but Foots can lock it. I don't care about no solos. On congas, I would probably, just like everybody else, just because I'm just throwing it out there, I would put Mickey on congas. If I got Foots on drums, you got Mickey on congas because that's locked. They're locked. You can tell they playing together. The same way if I were to choose Buggy on drums, I would have to go with Hot Sauce on congas because they so locked. It's like, oh my goodness. You got to have those two together. And that's how I am about Mickey and Foots. On keyboards, there's a few, well, without a question, I'll put my cousin BJ, Byron Jackson, another one who's not here. I'll put him on keyboards because he's just a phenomenal musician. And people don't realize that sound of the late, very late 80s, early 90s of Rare Essence, that's BJ. That dooba-doop, dooba-doop, doop-doop, dooba-doop, dooba-doop, that anybody can do that, but if you listen to BJ, he's playing the sample, the guy sample joint, and a drum pattern. He's not just going he's going and it all plays together. I would go with, and plus it's discipline, and I know it's music. For a second keyboard player, I've always loved Mark Lawson on the keyboards, Godfather. You know what I'm saying? Just his creativity, and Godfather is such a wild guy that the stuff he creates has been some powerful, real. He lays that carpet real very well that I love.
Kato, Kato, give us one or two of his creations of the original.
Well, I'm gonna say one on one. And like this, just like remember the rap says, like Jack and Jill went up the hill to have a little fun. On their way, they met the Godfather, and he told them about the one on one. I would even say the because he, believe it or not, he did it with two bands. Remember, Godfather played with R.E. He played with Benny and the Masters. He played with Air Ray. Damn, this cough. Excuse me.
That's okay.
He that joint did when he did it with Ben. When he had it with Benny, it was a joint called "Watch Out for That Pipe." Bump, 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 bump. That Georgia the Jungle joint. Then when he left Benny and went back to R.E., they used it for Work the Walls. Wasn't it Work the Walls? Bump, 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 bump. It's still that Georgia the Jungle joint. BJ just added the Tarzan. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Very creative. Once again, BJ and Godfather. So if it's two keyboards, those are the two I would use. Me growing up in go-go, and it's probably how I got the spot with Lil Benny and the Masters, because me as a guitar player always idolized White Boy on the guitar. I loved White Boy's style. I mean, White Boy, if you think all the old R.E. Jones, like If you listen to the guitar to roll call, if you listen to the guitar part to get funky with it, you're working up a sweat. Ain't nothing you ain't seen. If you listen to the guitar part to backs up against the wall, it was always real funky, like a Nile Rodgers style, scratching real hard and real funky. And that's how matter of fact, when I used to go see other bands play like Rare Essence, I was never one of the guys who was on the floor dancing. I was always the guy on the stage, on the side of the stage, watching them play and studying the band. And it was always white boy style that I thought was funkier than anything. So even to this day, I pattern. Now he don't play. He can be that funky now. He's a little more cleaner with it, kind of like a Chuck Brown. Matter of fact, I remember when I first auditioned with Lil Benny and the Masters, Godfather asked me, "Who your favorite go-go guitar player?" And I said, "White boy," right? And he kind of chastised me a little bit because he was like, "White boy should be Chuck." Chuck, and of course Chuck was much cleaner blues and all that. But where my head was at the time, of course Chuck was clean in blues, but I loved the funky style, the scratching funky style. At the time when I joined Ben and Master, I was like, what, 21, something like that, 20, 21. So I would probably put White Boy on the guitar, or Bula Rope is probably one of the baddest guitar players that I got to know personally. No, I've got to know a lot of vicious guitar players. Dwayne Lee, Jock Johnson. So it could be any one of them. Long as you can give me that funk. You know what I'm saying? Give me that funk on the guitar. I don't care too much about no rock lead solos and all that. Just keep that joint funky. So it could be Andre Bula, Jock Johnson, and I said Dwayne Lee. I mean, people like Tino was vicious, but Tino was more into the, like I say, lead guitar style. I love the rhythm guitar. You know what I'm saying? So if for bass guitar, there's no question it would be Funky Ned. You know what I'm saying? This, yeah, Funky Ned. I'm just gonna say Funky Ned on bass. Frontline lead rapping. To me, nobody has ever been able. I ain't gonna say nobody. That new generation is different, but remember in the '80s when people were starting bands, and all the lead rappers were either emulating funk or they were emulating Benny. You know what I'm saying? Whoever it was, whether it was, and I got love for everybody, whatever, but they was either doing funk style, which was just a laid back style. I would say like a Saeed, with Prophecy, or a little Benny style, like a Slick Rick with Hot Cold Sweat. You know what I'm saying? It was one or the other. And the fact that I played on stage with the man, I know what he's like on stage. It's like once the stage. It's like he was born for the stage, and he could light up a crowd. I don't care who it was, just because of his energy. So I would definitely, it would be, it is interesting. A couple of people that I named are no longer with us, but but I would go with Benny. If it was asking the next generation, who I love on the lead talker, is Ra. Ra is like Ra. Ra is like I don't know if I was using the right word, a protege of funk. His style is more like funk. He listens to every instrument in the band and all that kind of stuff. Kind of like Bugs. I think all of them come from the funk tree, and they even kind of run the band like him. So, but I would go with Benny as lead talker, and I don't know. It's funny because I'm naming people that I play with and I know. Because like I said, for vocals, I would go with Mike Muse for vocals, or Luther, people who I play with. I guess it would have to be because that's who I know can do the job that I would, for the sound that I would want. Or myself on guitar. I should have named myself, but Yeah, I guess.
What about your horn section?
Horn section. Um, the horn section, and I would want to grab the horn section as a whole unit. You know what I'm saying? So when I think of horn sections of units, I think of EU's horn section. I think of RE's horn section. I think of Trouble Folks section. Mike, from the EU joint. That's Mike. That's Carl. That's Too Tall Steve. You know what I'm saying? So we talking Mike, Hard Step, Mike Taylor, Carl is CJ. CJ Jones, and Too Tall Steve. That was a powerful sounding horn section. Yeah, yeah. So
They
that's
was
why.
like that. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, so explain go-go of the past and current go-go, and to you, and we're not this is no criticizing. What's different between now and then?
Youth, youth. Remember, just about every go-go band were in their teens when they started. You know what I'm saying? So that youthful energy, when we talk about people like Benny or whatever, you gotta remember when Body Moves came out, the majority of members of Rare Essence were still in high school. Some of them had just graduated. And to me, that's one of the best go-go records released. And that's in my top 10. And but just like whether you're talking Junkyard or Northeast Groovers or Publicity or Backyard, everybody were teens when they was when they were and they were making a lot of noise, cranking hard. They were either teens or just out of high school. Nowadays, and I'm not knocking it. Nowadays, when you see if I see a brand new band form, this is a new band, and I look at them, I'm saying, well, these cats in their 40s, 50s. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not knocking it because that go-go grew to be that way, but that's what's missing, the youth. Even the bounce bands are. I remember when you were in your teens, 30 seemed old as I don't know what to you, didn't it? You see what I'm saying? So even if somebody, even the youngest age of band members in go-go today is probably in the mid-30s. You know what I'm saying? Now you may have a couple of stragglers who they looking forward to, but like okay, like the young girl I see playing congas and stuff, but she's out there alone. It ain't like all her peers are doing it with her. It's her, and most likely when you got a younger person, because they all their peers aren't doing it, and if they're good, they're gonna get picked up by an older band. You know what I'm saying? People like Ari or whatever, they stay relevant because they grab younger artists. So that I think that's the only thing missing in because youth, just like in the bounce area, youth bring creativity. When you get set in your age, you don't mind, man. Look, we just playing tonight. We gonna play these Jones and whatever. Man, y'all been playing these Jones for the past 30 years. Yeah, man, but fuck all that. Forget all that. Why we got it? So, yeah, it's been working for the past 30 years. It's different. Our minds are on different things. Our minds are on paying mortgages and bills and family and whatever else we going through in the adult life. When you in your youth, your mind is just, hey man, check out this group. You know what I'm saying? I even see that with like I said, members of Fatal Attraction, like Pooh, who played the congas. Pooh was always vicious on congas back when they were at Crossland, and they would come from Crossland High School, but they were teens at the time. You know what I'm saying? And they were busting with creative originals, or something that they revamped. There was a cover and they revamped it. nowadays, old, like I said, older band come on. What's the hottest song? Okay, we're gonna Pressure. Okay, we're gonna play Pressure. And what's the other hottest song? The Beyonce joint. What is it? Check It or whatever. What's the next hottest song? You know what I'm saying? They can just turn on the radio and whatever's hot on the radio, they just gonna play. And not knocking that band, but they become more of cover bands. And cover bands are big in DC, especially DC. You can make a lot of money being cover bands, whether you're a band that's playing all Maze music or a band that's playing all Motown music and all that. There's a market for it out here. And that's what I think the older generation of go-go has moved into that. They won't play just one band. But it's easy to play a cover than it is to try to get guys together and create something original, So I think
got you.
that's what it's the youth. That's what's missing.
I follow, man. Okay. What are we coming? Okay, we only got 3 more questions left. I did steal one off of something you just said. One more, so
Uh,
then that'll be it. It's been fantastic. So, what do you think needs to be done to preserve the roots of the genre?
exactly what's happening now in regards to this interview. This platform and the people that you're interviewing, because everything needs to be documented. What the thing that's scaring me now is sometimes you got people coming out of the woodwork making claims of something that ain't really so. So in a sense, they're coming out and no one can prove whether they're wrong or wrong or not, but they're basically um trying to rewrite history. Was saying, well, no, it didn't really. After Chuck passed, you got people coming out saying, well, nah, go-go actually really started this way and that way and all that. So what happens is interviews like this and this platform and other platforms that do it, they are all necessary. They all need to be online because they all need to be archived. So when someone wanna change history or say such and such, you can say, well, nah, you know what I'm saying? I got it from the horse's mouth. This is what happened, such and such. Even if that person isn't here anymore. I think T-My Go-Go was doing T-My Go-Go, the first cover issue magazine with a second, but the first official issue was Lil Benny on the cover. Where, in all honesty, that has been the only extensive interview of Lil Benny. Unfortunately, you're not getting any more from him. Everything else is going to be about him, what others say, but not his own mouth. So, these kind of interviews in these platforms, and what you have been doing, whether it's your book, whatever you're doing with Mickey, with the air raid, with Docking, all of that is necessary because the way history works, if it's never documented, it's almost like it never happened. You know what I'm saying? So so to preserve it, because even if a young generation ain't messing with it right now, right? That don't mean a generation behind them not going to jump on it. You know what I'm saying? That happens with jazz and anything else. You had a generation that didn't mess, then all of a sudden the hip hop era jumped on that jazz thing. With people like Guru and Gangstar and Tribe Called Quest and a lot of those other groups. So it doesn't mean I don't think any music genre dies. People worry about is go-go going to die. I see the same people worried about is rock dying, is dead. Some people say rock is dead. It never dies because it still existed. Now, if none of that stuff had never been documented, then it would be like it never existed. But a person can come just like that game Jumanji. They can pick that joint up and realize, look at this treasure here. Oh my goodness. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we don't see it when it's in front of us until somebody else sees it. And
Copy that.
and that's what it's going to take to linger. So it's not the concept of it is not even younger kids who not into it. When they get older, they get into it because go-go isn't one of the biggest things that kept go-go lingering. It's not just about the music. Go-go is, I would say, 25% the business of music and 75 Cent the business of the party. Go-Go's about the party. And in DC and the DMV, they love to party.
Yeah.
It even affects our athletes on our pro teams, football and basketball team. They come here and just lose their mind partying, you know. So
Okay, now
um
listen, I got these last three, but then I got
uh-huh.
something to ask you off of recording. I
Okay.
was gonna do it anyway, but I didn't even know how much I was gonna learn in this. So I got something to ask you guys. So let me finish up this. Okay, so you mentioned something. I'm gonna skip around for 1 second. So you're a real artist. What I'm saying is that so we covered go-go, but I'm saying before I got a chance to meet you, especially in this intimate form, I just admire all the other things. So I want to ask you to please tell everybody, any books you have out coming, or we know the ones you already had. I used to advertise that book. I own it. And also any music. Explain to them what T-Mont is, because that's something,
Mhm.
as you can see, I already leaned on that. The Go Go Roundtable was so young, but I already leaned on some of your archive already. You know what I mean? And you have some of the most exclusive stuff that I've seen. So can you tell everybody exactly what T-Mont is and what all the things that you're doing right now and can do for people if they need services?
Okay. So you want me to start with the book or the T-Mart or which ones?
All of it. But you don't have to be
All
long,
right.
but just however you want to do it.
Okay. Well, the books I've written was one book called I called it I'm trying to think. Do I have one in front of me? Yeah, I don't. I don't. But the book is entitled "Take Me Out to the Go Go," which is a phrase come from a Ray Aston song, but it's basically my story of grown coming up into the era of Go Go's when so it starts in 1976 and it ends in the 2000s or whatever. So it tells the story of the Go-Go Live at the Capitol Center. It tells the story of how when we marched that time trying to get WLL to keep music back on it. It tells the story of when they were filming the movie Good to Go Here and how we auditioned to get roles. It tells all that. So even though it's my story through my eyes, it is through the history of Go-Go. And so it's called Take Me Out to the Go-Go. The second book which is this book here. It's probably backwards or whatever, and it's a children's book.
You okay? Put it over to your left. There we go.
And
Right.
it's called
Yep.
it's called I Want to Play Too. And if you notice, there's two little kids on there, and one of them holding a guitar. That's a children's book that's kind of based on me and my cousin Byron, B.J. Jackson, when we were kids, and how I used to always want to play his guitar, and he wouldn't let me or whatever when we were little, like 7, 8-year-old kids. So it's based on that. We're currently working on a book now. We're kind of in the finishing stages. The title is called Cranking, and it's extensive interviews and stuff. And it's co-authored with myself, Charles Stevenson. Some people may know Charles. Over the years he was EU's manager, and he wrote that book called The Beat. And also the other writers, Alona Wachowski. Alona been writing for the Washington Post and City Paper for years on Go-Go stuff. So that book will be coming out next spring, I believe. That's the way this calendar is working. We're kind of finishing up on it now. So that's book wise. T-Mont Go-Go was something that was just created in 1996, and at this time, the internet was basically new. Matter of fact, a lot of people at the time still didn't even realize about the internet until maybe a couple of years later. And it was a magazine and it's a website first. And what we did was we used to go to shows and review them, stuff like that, interviews, and we would put it on the site. We're like, all right, let's make this a magazine. So it became a magazine. It became a website in 96, and 98 became a magazine. And we were the first who did online go-go radio. And it kind of and it's just something that's been going on for the past 27 plus years. And it's still, I mean, right now the platform is very saturated. Everybody has the platform to do exactly what we were doing, and it doesn't mean T-Mart isn't really doing it anymore. We're just doing differently. A lot of times you'll see video commercials. I got one to finish today. I got to get the Peptide today. You see us doing video. I mean, you'll see video commercials of upcoming shows. You don't even realize that's my voice doing the commercial. So I'm still behind the scenes. A lot of stuff you don't realize, whether it's building websites, whether it's, the Inner City Go-Go website for Woody, my man, that's my partner Woody, and even his logo that I created. And I've created logos and album covers for Mike Muse and 32 and man, who else? E of OP Tribe, and album covers for Listen and Scooby and them, and logos for even the what is that, Go-Go Symphony. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know that Kato did that. Kato did that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm still active in that kind of way, and it's still under the T-Mart Go-Go umbrella brand and stuff. And just still continually, there's some interviews that I've done that I may put up later because I've done it for the book, but we did them through Zoom. So I'm like, well, just like I told you earlier, all that stuff should be archived. So, the talks that I had with even if it was Buck with publicity or whoever, you know what I'm saying? So it's still continuing doing what it's always been doing with the T-Mart thing. And what else?
Okay. So we got two more left.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned your top 10 recorded albums. I have to have them if you can remember.
Go-Go or just
Yeah.
in general?
No. Go-Go.
Albums or records?
Okay, records. Because go ahead.
Okay. My top 10, and I'm gonna say one on down. My number one Go-Go record is Body Moves. All right, by Rare Essence. My number two top favorite Go-Go record is E Flat Boogie by Trouble Funk. I love music, as you can see. I love music. My number three, I'm gonna go with EU Future Funk. All right. Number four, wow. Now, okay, number four records. Let me think of records of my top. I'm gonna go with Sock It To Me, Air Raid. Keep in mind, I'm naming records, not songs from PA tapes. I'm naming that they went to the studio and done. So I said 4, Sock It To Me. Man, I mean, 5, I'm gonna go to a song by Lil Benny and the Masters called Mercedes. Bum ba bum bum ba bum 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 bum. So I'm gonna go with Mercedes is 5. There's a joke by Backyard. I don't want to leave this out. And I think it was on the Skillet album. And it's called Life, Money, Struggle, Crime, something like that. Life, money, struggle, peace in the living room, getting it on. They ain't leaving till 6 in the morning. So I'm gonna go with that with number 6. I'm gonna go with Northeast Groovers with I always love Northeast Groovers Van Dam. ST period, rah, pack it up, pack it in. And see, it's been so many over the years because there's one actually the Listen release that I called So Good. There's a joke called So Good. So I'm gonna go ahead and make that. What's that? 8. So Good. I always love Junkyard's Light a Light. Do. Light a Light. Whatever. So I always like Junkyard's Light a Light. And I'm gonna go, with one of the bands we work with, Fatal Attraction. I'm gonna add that in there. Was a joke they had called uh uh what's going to get you? Grey Goose. Grey Goose. What's going to get you going loose? Grey Goose, whatever. So I'm gonna go with those in my 10. Yeah. I
Copy
mean,
that.
I'm just picking out of here. There's so many, but those are the ones who popped up because I I'd probably change a lot of them if I had them all in front of me looking at them. You know.
I got you.
So
And the last thing I want to ask you is because I got you here for that. Man, what was your view of music in Virginia in the Alexandria area?
I didn't know too much about you talking about bands from the area.
Like Ovation, Shady Groove, and people like that. Because I didn't know much
I
about
didn't.
them either. I'm just
Yeah,
learning
I didn't
now.
know too much about them. I knew about Ovation because, like I say, I think at the time a couple of the cats went to Duke Ellington when I was there. That's the original Ovation. The only really much I never seen Shady Groove. I love the record they put out. If you ain't funkin' and you don't know that Shady Groove, so yeah, would like to say, hey, to the big, what I'm saying? It was a nice little laid back, and the rapper had his own style of his own. It was different from Benny Hill Funk. Um, but I don't know too. As a matter of fact, I think when I found out that there was a Subway Shady Grove, is that in Virginia or Maryland?
That's on Virginia.
Okay, I think when I found out about it, I said, "Oh, that must be in the area where the band Shady grew from." You know what I'm saying? So I can honestly say I don't, and I'm gonna say bands as a whole because, in all honesty, sometimes people ask which band from what area. You don't realize a lot of band members came from all over. I mean, back may have been like an uptown band, but it may have been a couple of members who lived, like Buggy from Southeast. You know what I'm saying? So I always thought that was kind of wild, But I know that bands represent particular areas, but a lot of time, so you had, like I said, you had musicians who lived in VA who played in, you know, in whatever band, whatever it was. I mean, that whole. I hate the territorial thing. I hate the I love the let me tell you why I love the DMV thing. Because go-go was a DMV thing. I mean, it was, when we think of the early go-go spots, you think of Ebony Inn and Club LeBaron and Burn Manor. This included with Panorama Room and Vegas 5000 and all that. So even though there was an invisible line, especially when you're talking that part of Maryland, PG County, like when you're talking Sea Pleasant or Oxon Hill, those areas, man, that's an invisible line that it just mattered where your parents was able to rent a place to live. You know what I'm saying? Because, and I guess the schools they sent you to, Virginia, like I say, was different because I didn't know too much. Even playing, we enjoyed playing. Sometimes it was scary playing in Virginia than in other spots. Man, they used to fight like hell out in Virginia, especially Alexandria. You know what I'm saying? Shit. Woo. We had in a few shows and get out of there with, at the skin of our teeth a few times, just hoping to get out of the area that where we were playing at. But I didn't know too much about the band, especially back then. And then I really don't. I know there's a few now today. Maybe like Mature Clientele or whoever else from out of those areas. So
Man,
I can't too
my
much of it.
I got you. I got you. So on this one, in closing, then I want to talk to you. You posted recently, right, on your brother Chuck Hammond. I
Yeah.
happen to have known him personally, have gone to school with him. I, of course, had never met you. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I recall, what happened. I want to let you explain the post yesterday and just your fond memories. It's been a long time, you know what I mean, since that
hmm
happened. But what made you
hmm
post yesterday? And it really was a nice post. So I got some good pictures of
Well,
him
well,
too. I wanted to have.
right. I posted because his birthday was the 9th, February 9th. And he was just a few years younger than me. I think he would have been 55. And like, you know, he was my little brother and stuff, and he was really my biggest supporter. Chuck was into music heavy too, rapping wise. He used to rap. Matter of fact, if you look on my page, I shared a clip we did. This is during I was playing with Benny at the time, and he used to write, and he used to enter contests and stuff as a rapper. He called himself Cash M Cash, the letter M and the N Chuck, Cash M N Chuck. And he wrote a lot of raps, man. And we used to record demos. And one time around in 91, which was basically a year before, you know, his accident, he was killed in a car accident. But in 91, I believe it was, even 90 or 91, Landover Mall was still open at the time, and Briggs Music had built a recording studio in their back room, and they would let people come in there and record. So him and I don't know if you remember Terry. You remember Corey and Terry
from down Glen Willow. Were they from Glen
Willow? They lived in Glen Willow, then they moved to Booker T.
Okay.
Haynes, I think their last name was. You know, I know Big Corey used to hang with Marty and all the rest of them. But
okay, got you.
Yeah, but I knew them when they were little kids as well. And but his brother Terry, so me, Terry, and my good friend at the time, Pam, we went in the studio and recorded this song that Chuck wrote. I did all the music to, called Who Could Ask for More. If you go to my page now, I had posted it yesterday, and it's a YouTube clip where you can hear the sound and you hear his voice, and he kind of melodically chanting, singing, rapping style, you know, about, it was a funny little story about some girl he met, you know, kind of like the, if you think of that rap song called Go See the Doctor, remember that, Kumo D? But it was a go-go vibe, Joe. But I'm saying that to say that Chuck was always my supporter. I've posted clips over the years or whatever, video clips of maybe if it's Benny and the Masters or at the Metro Club or something, and I'm looking there and you can see Benny talking and I can see Chuck walking through the crowd or something. Or it's a clip that I put, we did a block party in front of Benny's house over off of Stanton Road back when he lived over there. And we playing outside Benny and Masters, and Chuck is behind us jumping up and down, you know, whatever. He was always, and you see him in the video, but he was always, you know, a supporter of mine when it came to the music thing. You know, he was, like I said, he was younger, so during the days when we were in high school and we would go up to the Howard Theater and stuff like that on Friday nights, we would, you know, me and people like me, Andre Funderburg and Lil Anthony and Baby John and all of us, and we would go to the Howard Theater, and Lil Kenny and Chuck, they were too young. We're like, y'all can't go, y'all too young or whatever. So they would do whatever they do at home, you know. Just a typical little brother type thing, you know. And and it was like in 92, he was in a car, you know, him and some friends was in a car accident.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. All dudes, you know what I'm saying? That man back there is a legend, y'all. That man back there is a legend. This man right here is a legend too. This man right here is a legend. I'ma tell y'all, all the way back in the day of the Howard Theater. You know what I'm saying? Way back in the day when we was doing it a little bit of something like this. Way back in the day we was kicking a little bit of something like this. Yo. Y'all remember this from back in the day? I seen a young boy die using drugs. Come on. Cocaine, crack, this stuff called love. You don't care, cause you're just a hustler. What if that was your little sister or brother? I understand your hustle, gotta play for peace. Driving those jealous and no juice. You're dressing so fly, it's no deny. And with the fast money things that you buy. Yes, outfits, Boss Gucci too. Style leather jackets, all types of shoes. Show hip hopper, Georgetown shopper, New York popper, big drug chopper, all the drugs you bought. You're standing in court about to do some time. It's all your fault. Your boyfriend's a hustler, girl, you like it. I bet things start to change once you get pregnant. He'll give you a line saying it's not mine. Upset with yourself, so you just start crying. He's locked up, so that's the deal. So tell me what's up, Metro? Who gonna pay that bill? He's a hustler, Stone Cold hustler. I said he's a hustler, Stone Cold hustler. Now, my name is Scorpio, and here's something about me. By nature, I'm naughty and nasty, down with OPP. Of course, I'm a nympho, as I drop the info. 411, baby, as I make my intro. Let me ask the ladies a question when I rhyme. During sex, you like it pumped hard or slow grind? Do you like to be kissed or slowly undressed? Or snatch your clothes off like animals before sex? Do you like it gentle or do you like it rough? I mean,